need to try to think of a better way to say what I said before.
Do we start with career and college ready, and then say what are the standards we need to establish to achieve that goal? And then once we've established those standards, we identify the assessment that's necessary to determine whether we're making progress against those standards in order to achieve that goal. Or does the assessment,
Standards should drive the assessment. Assessment shouldn't drive the standards.
Right. And the principle is career and college ready, or lifetime learning, or whatever the value proposition
that
is.
should be the standard.
The assessment should mean something. And I think it goes back to your statement about the SAT. The SAT, there's value perceived from it because it is what's going to determine where you go to college. So there's got to be some outcome that is tied to the assessment, so personal. I mean, it's got to mean something to the parents and to the students.
It's feedback on student progress and teacher accomplishment.
It means something. I'll tell you, it means something to the parents in third grade.
Yeah.
That's retention.
Right.
But the write-ups.
When there's a hammer.
But the science, the former, 10th grade science FCAT had littler value because it wasn't linked. Students could just do whatever they wanted with value as much.
Right.
So your numbers were.
So I think because of that, maybe we've diminished the value.
I don't think I think today it's not. I think current it has value because most parents, when they get that score back, they want to know what reading level is. My child 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reading level, and I think it has value. It didn't at different times in its evolution had less value, but I think it's pretty relevant now.
Because funding drives from it.
Funding drives from it.
I think of reading and math, but I'm not sure in science.
Maybe less so.
Less so in science.
Okay, teams, take another 5 minutes to continue to brainstorm. 5 more minutes, and when you're ready, select your top vision statement from the full list. A single vision statement that you can all agree upon, and then drag that over to the best budget. 5 more minutes for brainstorm.
I would throw out feedback needs to be timely. I mean, that's a kind of an overarching.
Is that in there?
It's an overarching problem with assessments, but feedbacks need to be timely, which hopefully will improve.
That's not timely.
7 state assessment results should be provided in a timely manner as close to the end of school year as possible. The results should be presented in a clear, understandable format.
So I think that individual student assessment data should be protected. I know that's one of the concerns, and I think we should protect student data.
Is that a vision statement we want to make? And if so, how do you?
Well, it's in 15.
Okay.
Actually,
state assessment should be valid and reliable, and the state should have a plan to test accurately.
That's 15%.
Okay. And ensure privacy. I would say that should be an ensure privacy of student data. Okay. Is there a statement up here that we like that we want to drag to the left?
Scroll up there.
There are alignment standards that we already know are critical. They should be goes back to number 1. Understanding the standards are critical.
Here's the one about privacy of student data.
15.
And that's a little bit different.
Surprised that didn't come up.
You can have the standard in
Yeah.
add, subtract, multiply, divide, fraction.
Sure, I'll keep
So we can measure that by what? This fraction plus this fraction.
What's the downside to not having computer-based assessment? Time? Well, just time. It's tons of hours.
You probably know this better, probably, sir.
Yeah,
I just read.
So far, this is what's been picked.
It is.
As the most critical challenges.
It's all.
Okay, that's a good one. The letter is a challenge. These are what have been selected.
It can't be taken away.
Y'all, this is what has been selected so far as the most critical challenges, and then we need to go back to the full list of challenges and select how about our technology one?
That's what I really like. Yes. Is there a way that we can incorporate that first one with cost as well?
I think we can pull multiple over. Somebody else has pulled two. We can.
Challenge to make the second bucket. And we'll begin with possible solutions.
Right here.
All right, so we have our top 10 most critical challenges. DJ will open up the next panel for us so we can get everyone's attention. We're now in the solution mode. So the two that you selected, please go to bucket 2. Everybody click on bucket 2.
No, go back to 4. Go back to number 1.
Not even landline.
Find the 2 challenges your team advanced. So bucket 2, most critical challenges.
They changed. Maybe they changed it in the system.
Team advanced to most critical, click on them and begin identifying potential solutions, please.
So what are solutions to selecting an assessment?
All right. That don't have the complete technology
They're not
center.
wired. They're not wired right.
You know, you could take the schools in Nassau County that don't have everything they need, but if we couple that with Florida State College and the technology they have, then you're able to benefit. And so, yeah, you can provide them transportation. They'd be driving for 20 minutes.
And then of course we have to incorporate more money for professional development to ensure that that test in fact is doing, as a teacher standpoint, who's going to be proctoring it, who's going to be going and using it.
So in a moment you will see your screens change.
Yes, you will be.
You're so good, Janet.
Here we go. We're on job.
All right. Go Team 5.
The understanding the necessary steps between the implementation and teaching of the standards, the assessment results, and their use on personnel impact decisions.
Which number is your tool highlighted?
It's
number 11. Thank you.
11. So the idea here is we ought to have a crosswalk, a transition plan that clearly understands the steps that we need to take right now and into the next 2 to 3 years, specific to the implementation, teaching of the standards, the assessment, the use of the assessment results, and their use on personnel impact decisions, such as evaluation, which we'll be tackling tomorrow. You don't want solutions now, right?
Yes, solutions.
Solutions. So the most important solution, I think, that our group considered is an expansion of timelines specific to the implementation timeline for impact on human capital decisions until 2016, allowing for the field test, baseline and full year of implementation of Common Core state standards aligned assessment. So without those 3 sequential steps of field testing, a baseline and full implementation through 1 year of results, we do not believe that the state will be ready to move ahead with human capital decisions that could absolutely derail all the good planning that's taking place right now. And to do that, I'll go one step further. There needs to be clear alignment between perhaps a glitch solution to Senate Bill 736 specific to human capital decisions driven by the new assessment, Senate Bill 1664, and then we cannot forget that there is a federal requirement, whether we like it or not, that needs to be addressed through the waiver, a new waiver submission to extend the timeline. I think unless we do that, we may find ourselves in the same position with a great deal of statewide discontentment or lack of understanding over personnel decisions driven by the impact of rushed assessment results that were not properly vetted.
So thank you, Team 3. Let's give them a hand. Appreciate it. Team 4.
Thanks for this group. Our issues were 1 and 2. So the first one is we had a lot of discussion about the kind of the struggle to balance between the cost of a test, the technology needed, and the expanded time of tests versus having tests that really can measure critical level thinking skills. And so the state really did need to get a balance on all those issues. One of our potential solutions for that is to really leverage the size of the state of Florida to get what we want. Leverage our size and influence, whether it's negotiating with PARC, negotiating with the SAT or ACT, or negotiating on our own product or off-the-shelf product to get what we need for our state. And then another recommendation, in particular with the expanded testing time, was to give more educational days in the school year. The second issue was if we are really going to have a multitude of options at the table that Commissioner Stewart can pursue, there is a potential obstacle that is out there that looks like PARC is not a viable option, and that message is being sent in the state and outside the state. And so it might be good to get some clarification from legislative leaders that PARC is a viable option if the costs and other concerns are met.
Thank you, Keith. Ensuring our schools are prepared for the technology, our students are ready for the technology, and that our teachers are prepared to utilize the technology and to deliver assessments in the traditional method should technology be compromised, which is raising a concern. In fact, for testing, that my personal experience of seeing that we've done some testing for 6th grade in standardized testing and the computers completely crashed. What do you do at that moment? You're taking the students out of the classroom. Their now testing time is there, the instructional time is being compromised, as well as the technology. Is there a backup plan for that so that the testing is done with fidelity, but it also does happen without compromising more instructional time? And that's very important. So we thought possibly look for additional E-rate and other federal funding sources to assist with technology implementation, and also to work with DMS, maybe the DOE works with DMS to check into availability of those fundings. Another would be to look at options. As silly as it might seem, we are thinking outside the box. That's what this entire program is about, thinking outside the box and looking at options for possibly mobile testing labs and partnerships with nearby state and universities, colleges and universities, or other facilities for areas who do not have access to the infrastructure needed for the technological assessment that's going to be implemented in the future. So that's possible ideas.
Very good. And did you cover off both of your challenges?
Oh, we have a lot more.
Okay.
But is there another one, or are we good? We wanted to talk also about number 4, did we not?
Number 4? Okay, we'll highlight that.
I don't think we came up with actions for another, but I don't see
Yeah, I don't see where the other actions are. Okay. Our last one was our Florida assessment should not be burdened by unnecessary federal overreach. I am not well versed in this. However, I have been educated and I'm extremely interested in what everyone has to say. And regardless of assessment instruction selected, Florida teachers and other key stakeholders should be involved in the development of the Florida implementation plan.
Thank you, Team.
What do I think about Common Core? I've used it in my classroom since last year, and I'm very, very happy with the results that I've had. I've made learning gains with Common Core and created more critical thinkers. And I even teach ESOL students. And those students are a lot more linguistically challenged, and I still got them to think outside the box and empower them to empower themselves. And I was very pleased with it because it really is not about, it's not the content, it's the how and the why you teach the content. And it's standards that allowed me to create a curriculum that created very, very good critical thinkers. Because, which is interesting, a lot of my friends are AP teachers, and they said Common Core and AP are quite similar. And because if you hold standards very high in your classroom, regardless of what teachers and students that you have, if your standards are so high, with Common Core, with the Sunshine State standards, you can create the success in your classroom. So I use the Sunshine State standards, and then once the Common Core, I infused both of them together and created a very successful classroom. The percentage of the internet, well, at any time that I needed to use technology, we had iPads, because I'm from Orange County Public Schools, and we had 25 iPads to use in our classes. We also had 5 computers in our classes, and we had a technological lab that we also were allowed to use at the times that we were going to use technology in our classrooms. Well, we just received a new school, so we are a high-tech school, and it does make a difference. But I don't think Common Core is only just technology. I think it's a part of it. I think with Common Core, once again, Common Core are the standards that enables you to create a curriculum, and along with those standards, there's technology infused in those standards. So yes, you use the technology, but you're also doing other things as well. So incorporating technology is incredibly the bonus of it.
Okay, well, thank you for the time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy to be joining you today and talking a little bit about the Education Summit here in Clearwater. Behind me, I think you see a graphic illustration of some of the things that are being talked about here, and the opportunity for Florida, especially to decide how it moves forward in its ability to compete internationally, and certainly for the students of the state of Florida, a better grasp of what's happening in the rest of the world. So it's exciting to be here and hear all the ideas that are coming out of this summit that we'll use in the upcoming legislative session to help determine what our standards are going to be, how we will do the assessments and evaluations, and what will ultimately become the policy for the state of Florida. So I think this is kind of like the engineering aspect of maybe building a rocket, where all the engineers come together and discuss the many ways and the many components that it's going to take to make the rocket propel you somewhere, to the moon or to Mars, wherever it might be. And so I think in that vein, the governor's done a good job of putting together all the right people to give some input for the ideas that it's going to take to, again, put Florida and I hope the rest of the country in a good place in terms of how we compete internationally, and to make us number one again in the world. It's easy to be in the middle of the pack and be complacent, but we know Americans are competitive and we want to be number one.
All right, teams, welcome back. Let's look into the future for state standard assessments. And we have 4 vision statements. We did have 5 about 30 seconds before you exited, and then all of a sudden we just had 4. Well, that's because we had 2.
We had 2. They didn't do one. I'm not going to point out who's.
Okay, just checking.
We thought we were wrong because we had 2.
I see. So, Team 1, can you appoint a spokesperson and share which of these vision statements you all elevated to the top? Team 1. Team 1?
They didn't have it.
They did not have one.
I'll speak for Team 1.
Yeah,
he could correct me if I'm wrong. He could assess my statement. And we adopted number 3, which was actually not ours, but then when we looked at the list, we thought that that was a very good comprehensive statement regarding assessments. The only thing that we would have added, and that's lacking from all 4 statements, is the cost effective. It has to be affordable. And that's something from a state perspective that is as real as anything else that we deal with in the world of assessments. We have to be able to pay for it.
Good job. Do you want to speak?
So actually, I think
all right. Let's give Team 1 a round of applause. So, already good alignment. You wanted to echo Team 3. That's great. Or the third one. Team 2, who can speak on your behalf? Where'd you go? Tony.
So we wisely already chose that one, so I'll just say what he said. Thank you, Senator. Actually, it was to assure that the standards aligned with the assessment, the test aligned with the assessments, that the feedback was as timely as possible, and in our next phase we're even going to suggest as quickly as a week or a day whenever possible, that instruction and learning is leveraged through technology, and that teachers and parents can use what they learn through the process to immediately personalize the training or differentiate the education for the student.
Well done, sir.
Thank you. We trained it. Thank you, Team 2. Team 3, who can speak on your behalf? Very good. Thank you.
Good exercise. Yeah, Representative Princeton passed the buck.
We're team 3, and ours is number 4 on the board. Assessment should be developmentally appropriate and require students to think critically. We talked a lot about the assessment process and talked about a lot of stuff that was up there. But if we want to compete in a global environment, if we want to make sure that our students are achieving, if we want to do all those things, then we have to make sure that they're critically thinking and align them to the standards.
Peter, over here. Right here.
I just want you to know this is the power table.
Now, obviously, yes. Team 5? Or are you still on team 4? No, 4. Team 4.
Team 4.
Thank you.
So we chose number 1. State assessment should be aligned with state standards. And I'm going to stop here because I want to make sure that I capture all the voices within my group. And it's not just with the way the standards have been written, but also with the way they're supposed to be implemented. So we are going deeper. So we want our assessments to be able to capture the depth of the way in which we are implementing them. Provide cross-state comparability. Stop again. Regardless of if we choose to go with PARC, with Smart Balance, or shelf or semi-shelf. So we have to find a product that will allow us to provide cross-state comparability. That it's going to be used in accountability and teacher evaluation in a clear, fair, and timely manner. We had a discussion whether this belonged here, but I think we came to the conclusion that we cannot separate one from the other, and we decided that it was important to have this, to talk about this now. Clear, we want our administrators, we want the teachers, and we want the parents to know what's expected and how teachers are being evaluated. We want it to be fair, especially if it's going to be tied to, okay, well, we'll talk about that some other day. And a timely manner, by timely also, we need to be technologically ready in order to implement. So, and we need a timeline, because we cannot allow just people to use that as an excuse. So we want it to be, and the results to come to us in a timely manner so that we can use them appropriately. So.
Thank you. Team 5?
Yes.
Team 5?
That's what happens when you're the last one back in the room. We actually, I'm trying to read, I almost would argue that we probably agreed with 1, 2, and 3. I think the one we actually boarded was number 2. Focusing on assessment accurately measures the current standards. And a lot of our discussion was around, if you look at career and college readiness, and the standards are targeted to achieve that outcome, then what the assessment needs to do is lead you to achieving that outcome also. And part of our discussion got into is the investment, and you think about the investment from the student's perspective, the parent's perspective, the teacher's perspective, the school's perspective, the state's perspective. Do all of those constituencies understand that the investment they're making in assessment leads to the value delivered by career and college readiness? And so we believe that you kind of see the building blocks in that process, and that's why you're doing this. You're not doing it just because. It's driven by college and career readiness, the standards, and the assessment path to that.
There's a lot of agreement going on as you were sharing that. So what are areas for our synthesis team? What are areas of alignment? What can we call out as being the common themes we're seeing throughout all 4 of the vision statements?
Timely.
Timely.
Aligned with state standards.
Aligned with state standards, yes. Others?
Clear.
Clear.
Differentiated instruction.
Differentiated instruction.
Personalized.
Personalized.
That was the inside joke.
Julie, others?
Timely.
Timely, yes. Very good. So what we will do now is we will take a 15-minute break, and we'll have you come back at 2 o'clock And our synthesis team will, as they did before, synthesize these 4 statements into one to present back to you. We'll continue on with the afternoon, so enjoy a 15-minute break.
I can have everyone's attention, please. Before the break, we landed on 4 rather than 5 statements because 2 teams actually converged on the same one. During the break, we did our best to synthesize those statements, as we did previously, into a single vision statement for state standard assessments. This will be coming around shortly to you in a printed handout. I'll just take a moment to read this out loud. State assessments should align with state standards, provide cross-state comparability, and produce accurate, timely results. The results should be used in accountability and teacher evaluations in a clear, fair, and timely manner, and should assist our teachers and parents to personalize instruction. Good. Does that work? Work for everybody? Comments? Thoughts? Okay. Sorry.
Well, well, the senator is reading my mind, or I'm reading his mind, or whatever. But I think there ought to be something in there about in a cost effect, or something to do with cost. That it's something that we can actually do. I don't have the wordsmith, but I thought the senator made a really good point about eventually reality has to impose itself, and we ought to have something in there about it ought to be affordable.
Can we talk just briefly about why cost is so important? And we talked about that in the meeting, in our breakout session, is that, you know, you've got issues like infrastructure, in terms of materials that have to be presented, and you're really incapable of getting the full value of the intent without those items being taken care of. So the issue had to deal with computers. You know, we've got a certain number of computer labs, dedicated computer labs, in our schools to facilitate tests. Well, now, if those labs don't accommodate the number of students that you have on your campus, then of course, the process then again is being slowed down. So it's nice, idealistically speaking, it's great to have this in place, but there's a cost factor that must be also considered.
Okay, thank you. So we've heard those comments, and they came out before the break as well, in terms of, in the implementation of this vision, cost and cost effectiveness being a factor. So we've noted that for the real-time record, and the handout is coming around, and I think we're ready to continue to the next steps.
Yeah, we capture that from the real-time record, and it will definitely go in the item on cost effectiveness, absolutely. What you have now in your hands is the vision statement the synthesized vision statement for state standard assessments, as well as the 14 vision statements that were shared just prior to the break. We are ready for the next round of teams. Yes, sir.
I just got to. I want to add something here just before we move on. I want to underscore the affordability of what we're doing here. Okay? We've got the Senate Education Appropriations Chair. We have a principal here who has to go back and implement this. And I don't want us to, you know, just say, well, you know, it's over here and somewhere hidden over here, or not hidden, it's somewhere else over here. You know, maybe it's important enough that we put up here. Now, maybe we need to say that Florida needs to fund or have appropriate funding to implement what we have here. If not, I mean, I'm telling you, I've been through this before, and you go off and it's going to look real nice on a sheet of paper. When that high school principal gets back, you know, he's got to implement it. And in September, Senator Galvano is going to be scratching his head looking for money. All right? And so, you know, we're all going to be hiding out in the woods somewhere. Okay? And the two of them and a few of the colleagues are going to be scratching their head. So I just want to say, I don't think we can overemphasize that the reality of being able to afford what we say we want. We all want something, but we've got to be able to afford it. And Florida is very, very diverse. There is just a tremendous amount of diversity in this state.
Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. We've just been conferring on this so that we can bring this back up. Having heard the comments about affordability and cost effectiveness, even though they didn't come up in the actual results from the think tank, we're hearing this verbally and very strong. So we're actually wanting to add something here. We're going to revise this in real time and then provide you with an updated handout. So do we want to say, just to use the word affordability, or is it being sure that there's appropriate funding?
Or cost effective.
Cost
effective align with.
Okay, should it align cost effectively with state
Cost
standards?
effectively align with state standards.
Okay.
Accurate. I mean, cost effective.
Mike's muted.
Sure, it's a very good question. I think we need to know it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that's better. Okay, so we have the word cost effectively in there so that it is incorporated into the vision statement going forward. Does that work for everybody? Thank you. Okay, thank you for helping us align.
Thanks, sir.
All right, very good. So now that we have the vision in place, and you have it in your hands, and please do add in cost effectively, because we will change that in real-time records. We are ready for our new team configurations, where we will do a two-part activity. The first is to ask you to identify issues and challenges to get from here to these visions we've just created for state standard assessments. And just as we did before, we'll ask each of your teams, after a period of brainstorming issues and challenges, to pick two. You drag the two over into the most critical bucket, and then once you've identified two, we'll ask you to come up with possible solutions to address those issues and challenges. And just a note for process, if you should talk about next steps before we get there, feel free to go to bucket 3 and insert your next step. We don't want you to lose that. So now you're professionals with this process. You know how it works. Feel free to go to and from each of the buckets. But right now the focus is on issues and challenges and then possible solutions to address those. And under your name temps you have your new team configurations. Any questions before we head back to the Forest Lab? We'll see you there. Thank you.
What they tell us to. I haven't even used one yet. But okay. We'll do it.
Okay, we now have a Word document version here up on the screen. We're going to make this a little bit bigger, and we're going to ask each team, the spokesperson from each team, to highlight your team's chosen 2 next steps for us. So would someone from Team 1 like to get us started?
Sure. But I don't see ours up there yet.
Okay,
you got to scroll.
We can scroll and
It's working.
Number 5 was one of them.
Number 5?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, number 5 was our first. Did you get that? Number 5, we thought that the very first thing we should do out of the gate is figure out what's out there so that we know what we have to work with and not have to go through the process of reinventing the wheel if it's not necessary. So we put down a full and complete inventory of all assessment tools available that are aligned with state standards and are nationally normed. So that would be step 1. And that sort of led into a discussion on step 2, which ours was 7, right? Go up. Here, go down.
No.
Yes, it was 7.
7?
Oh, yeah, because we had one very similar, then we adopted the language of 7. And that's achieving advantages of custom assessment by either DIY or leveraging Florida size with park or shelf, semi-shelf products. And again, the idea being, before we can start making decisions about what direction we go, let's see what's out there. Let's see what works. Let's see what has been analyzed in the past and see if there is a way to utilize those products within our state.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Team 1. Yes, Team 1. Team 2, a spokesperson from Team 2.
Thank you. We have 4. We'd like to see a visual timeline of the monthly milestones that must be met for accountability system to be properly implemented. And number 6, conduct a feasibility study and alternative assessment solutions. No. Yes, which also, we were also like number 2 up on top, and it's almost what we were meant to say in terms of the return on investment. Is that there? No. We thought we saw a return on investment one too, that we liked a lot.
Okay, thank you. How about a hand for Team 3? Team 3, someone please tell us about your chosen steps.
We have a process problem, which I'm up here too often. I'm kind of like Mikey. Commercial. Scroll down for me a little bit. And make sure I've got it. There is sort of there's 2 really groups. And is there another one below 9 or is 9 the last one? No. Let's go back up to 9 and 7. And I think and actually 8 was, so general concept around, number 1, what is our ability to leverage Florida's presence in this space? As we look at whether we're looking at a national consortium plan, whether we're looking at a shelf or semi-shelf plan, or whether we're looking at a custom plan. Can we achieve all of what we see as the positives of a custom plan by negotiating with or leveraging our position with a consortium or with some other state combination? Another piece of the discussion was really understand, if we look at 8, we talked about be clear on what is the all-inclusive cost for Florida share of each and any assessment model. A lot of discussion around the numbers that are out there, around assessment and around implementation, and do we have good solid data on, and does everybody have the same good solid data on what those numbers are, so that we're clear on that. And I think, guys on my team, anything else? I hope I've captured it. But that was kind of the sense of our discussion.
We talked about that implementation, separating those 2. The assessment, what the cost of the assessment model was, and then what's the implementation cost. And then we also kind of tagged on to find out why other states opted out of certain things, learn from them to see if we can move forward.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. How about a hand for this team?
If you could move up to the very top. We had 3, but I would say if we had to pick the most important 2, all the way to the top, please. Certainly number 1, it's very similar to what I've already heard. Florida needs to begin having discussions with the providers, all providers, using our leverage as one of the largest states regarding our concerns and have them respond, hopefully appropriately. And once that information is received, our state leaders need to make a selection as soon as possible so the states and districts can prepare for implementation. The second would be, if an assessment is selected, or when it is selected, that requires computer-based administration, if that's the way we go, the state needs to provide an implementation plan and funding to ensure sufficient devices, infrastructure, and training. And we had a bonus one, number 3, which is just for some thought. We realize that there are some logistical challenges to this one, but the state should explore using Florida teachers to score the performance aspects of our assessments and use this process as a professional development tool.
Okay, thank you. So this team actually contributed 3 items, right? Did we end up with 11 total? Okay, up on the side.
I used to remind the teacher that they didn't assign homework too.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, I think we have one more team to hear from. Team 5.
Can you scroll down?
Yes, we can scroll.
So we can find out? I think it's 9, but I think we did more than 1.
I had a 10. I think 10's up there.
Is there a 10?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Jen, please. Number 9 now.
Hi. First of all, I just want to tell you that this has been quite enlightening for me as a teacher. How many teachers are in the room right now? There should be more. There should be more teachers in the room. And the reason I'm saying that is that I now am so excited as Florida Teacher of the Year to go back to the district teachers, to take notes, and to let them know exactly what's going on, because it is so insightful for me. I have learned such a great deal about it. I love my little bubble in my classroom, but at the same time, I'm being exposed to so much more, and I think it's imperative that our Florida teachers are aware of it too, so that we can ensure that we are meeting the needs that we have to with our children. And I think this is an amazing opportunity for me. I've never been more educated in 2 days before. I'm very happy. With that said, and the knowledge that I have with my illustrious team, is for number 9, it says conduct ROI on shelf, semi-shelf, and custom assessments to assist in determination of Florida direction. If we look at each component of the guiding principles associated with the assessments, we do a request for information for all the available providers. That way we can do a contrastive analysis of each of the data and each of the assessments and see which one would be the most cost effective, as which one would be the best for our school and our children. And for number 10, this is really important, to submit a formal inquiry to USDOE to learn of financial impact, the financial impact to Florida if we were to withdraw from PARC. Okay?
Okay, thanks to all the teams. And if we look at the total picture of these next steps, what emerges is some clear-eyed practicality by all the teams. Quite a few mentions from different angles of financial impact, financial feasibility, and not only the financial impact in terms of the all-inclusive cost of various assessment options. Also, one team put on the table the financial impact, potential financial impact of withdrawal from PARC. There's also some clarity on the need to be able to manage implementation of the entire project and considering an entire range of alternatives, all the way from do-it-yourself to off-the-shelf products to semi-tailored or semi-shelf, all the way to custom assessments. So the teams have quite a few options covered with a clear practical gaze. And I think we're ready to move on.
How are you feeling about the progress made thus far today? Feel good? We are officially over an hour and a half ahead of schedule. So that means we can forge ahead in school grades and potentially get out a little early tomorrow. Would that work? So school grades is the focus for the remainder of the afternoon, and we're going to go into visioning. So just as we've done for the other 2 areas, we're going to envision school grades, the best possible vision for our future. And just as we worked in Think Tank before, we will have just the vision bucket, so a brainstorming bucket. You've got your new teams under your name, your team template. Pick a new team, make sure you pick a great team. Brainstorming visions, and then each team elevates your number 1 vision for school grades. When you get to your team area, you will see this think tank screen. So we are ready to meet you in the Forest Lab. It's all about school grades.
Thank you, sister. I appreciate that. I gotta put a couple of them on. Yeah. Get back in the game. That's right. Yeah. What's going on, man?
That's a very appropriate song.
Yeah. I tell you what, when this song came out, boy, I tell you what, people were excited in the room. Right.
We're just talking about these.
Throwing in suggestions.
We're not going to be
All right, we are ready to review our school grades ideal vision statements.
Right.
We had 8 that made the hit list today instead of 5, so we got some bonuses, and that's all good. I'd like to ask Team 1 if you could please share the 1 or 2 vision statements you advanced for school grades.
Let me just say that it's clear that we've dealt with the easy issues, because this one was really, really, really hard compared to the other discussions. Ours is
3.
Is it 3? No, scroll down.
3, 7, and 8, I think.
Team, help me. Bill, where's Bill go?
I'm right here.
Which one? Which?
3, I think, was 1.
Let me just get a sense of this conversation. We had a very, very passionate conversation, and some of the folks were arguing that the current system is just not fair, and it has a really negative impact on the educators in the buildings, particularly, who work really, really hard, oftentimes with high poverty kids, and get rewarded by their really hard effort by being labeled a failure. And so there was a sense that it causes the teachers to try to avoid those schools, because why do I want to be in a school that no matter how hard I work, I'm still going to be, labeled a failure? And so that was a large part of the discussion. Another part of the discussion was, and I don't think anybody disagreed with this, that school grades have probably done more than anything else in the last several decades to put more attention on the needs of high poverty kids. And if you look at the data, we've had more progress with high poverty kids in the last 15 years than any other time in several decades. So that was the contradiction that our group was grappling with, is we'd like a system that is fair and doesn't stigmatize people. On the other hand, how to do that was a real challenge, and so it was a very passionate discussion. That's sort of where we ended up.
All right. Thank you, Team 1. Team 2.
Oh, no.
Okay. So school grades, a lot of the discussion that we had, I think the school grading has evolved quite a bit. It's a little bit like the tax code. We've put a lot of things in, we've taken some things out, and there's been a lot of noise around that, and therefore I think you got a complex system that is not clearly understood by everybody. So we need to make sure that we have a fair, simple, clear, and understandable system, and at the same time make sure that it accurately reflects the school's performance. And we need to make sure, and somebody else put it in there as well, that it's statistically valid. We've had a lot of changes to the system over the last 3 years, and I think it's just incumbent upon us to get it right. If we're going to use a grading system, we've got to make damn sure if somebody's an F, they're an F, and if they're an A, they're an A. So that's the way we felt about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Team 2. All right, Team 3.
I lost the drawing. We, of course, I'm very excited that this late in the day we're all very still passionate about these issues and are able to. And we thought we were supposed to put forth 2, so we put forth 2. Our first, and we had the same conversation about the whole grading system and whether it's relevant and whether it's meaningful. And in the beginning, it was more valid and was simpler to understand. And so we, number 4 is one of ours. We must have a strategic, and I can't read it in blue unless you blow it up some. We must have a strategic and consistent school grading system that is trustworthy and sustainable. In addition, specific criteria must be in place before the bar is raised. And that was to address the issue that if a school knows that when their students get to a certain place, then the bar will be raised, or as a state, we determine where that bar should be and where where we're going to, and then raise it so that everybody knows what's expected down the road. And then the other one we did was 6. There should be a correlation between principal and teacher evaluation and school grades. And we actually came up with a different grading system to align it to teacher evaluation. So instead of the A through F, we have highly effective, effective, needs improvement, and unsatisfactory.
Hear, hear.
And that was team 3, correct? Right. Team 4.
I guess everybody had a spirited conversation. We did too. We did 5. School grades should be simple, transparent, based upon student learning outcomes and objective measures. They must inform parents about the effectiveness of the schools in their district. Focus on that word effectiveness. And then they must motivate achievement, and they should not be adjusted after the data is received, in light of the last couple of years. But we've talked about what's coming in the next couple of years. And are we going to face the same things that we faced in the last couple of years? So it's going to be a discussion that needs to be continued. And then we also threw that they must be transparent, fair, and easy to understand for all. When you look at these things, it's kind of like reading a Chinese menu. You know, you get 1 from column A and 2 from column B, and then maybe you get some from column C, and then, oh gosh, now we got 3 more columns. And that's what, people need to understand and be able to buy into and realize where they're coming from. But we also think it should be cost effective. Right, Senator?
Always.
Okay, who's 5? Keith?
All right, let's hear it for team 4.
Okay, it sounded like our group had a very similar conversation as most of the other groups. And what we saw as we were looking through it, we talked a good deal about our schools that were our high-need schools and how we looked at that and some of the unique needs of those particular schools, especially when we were looking at their school grades. But what we came up with, we did have 2 points, was number 3, that our school grades should be fair, simple, clear, and understandable by everybody, by all our stakeholders. And then we saw number 4 is that we must have a strategic and consistent school grading system that is trustworthy and sustainable. In addition, specific criteria must be in place before that bar is raised.
All right, excellent. So we got a great head start on school grades today. And as we've done in the previous 2 rounds, our next process will be to synthesize these 8 vision statements into a single vision statement that captures the spirit and the passion of all of the great teamwork here. And so we're doing that in progress. So stay tuned for that. We may have it for you before we leave today. You feeling good still?
Yeah.
Good? Mm-hmm. All right. What I'd like to do is ask Jonathan to take us back in time when we were looking at the state standard assessments and to walk us through what you've captured today, Jonathan.
Not to put you on the spot or anything like that.
No, I don't feel on the spot. All right, here we have basically a concept to capture the vision statements. Picking up a little bit on the state standards this morning and the state standard assessments. We dove into a concept that supported alignment, or the idea of alignment, because it seemed that these 2 buckets needed to be in line. And so the concept of a rail, or someone mentioned it was a roller coaster, yes. So we quickly turned it into a roller coaster. So, but I mean, the whole concept still works. So we tried to illustrate each statement and just bring it all together there. And then at the bottom, we still need to work on the assessment next steps there, so we'll embellish that.
All right, while our synthesis of the school grades vision is being finalized, what I wanted to give you is a sneak preview of a real-time record. How many of you have seen the work product that comes from one of these collaborative engages? A few of you? One of you? Two of you? PJ, if you can drive our real-time record, this is just an example. So on Thursday, after you get home, you will find on the front cover of this real-time record, it will just be a link. You will find live links to the specific work products that you have in your hands in kind of a summary fashion, just like we've given them to you, the vision statements, the top 10 challenges and issues, as well as the proposed solutions, and then the next steps. Those will be in a succinct manner that you can just hit print on them. But everything that we've accomplished and will accomplish over the next 3 days will be captured here. So all of your animated reporting will be captured. Everything that landed on a whiteboard will be captured. Not only a picture of the whiteboard, but a transcription of the whiteboard so you can actually read it. And you all will be captured. I know this group is a much better looking group than the one we're looking at, so it'll all be captured. Yeah, this isn't you. So just to give you a sense for what you have in store in terms of work product, as we scroll down, we'll see some of the visioning we did, especially yesterday afternoon, some of your magazine cover illustrations. You will also see, as I mentioned, every piece of artwork that Jonathan does, you will see in a vision mural. Actually, probably 4 or 5 of them. So PJ, if you could scroll down to Jonathan's work here in the next couple of slides. So you'll see them in living color, and I'm anticipating we'll have probably an art gallery by tomorrow afternoon of the visions that you put forward. And if you can continue to scroll, you'll see how our brainstorming software captures everything. So not only what you elevated to the top, your priorities, but you see here, this is the body of brainstorming that you all did, so nothing gets lost. Everything will be contained within your real-time record. So that is just kind of a preview of what you have in store on Thursday. So
Anyone can see that, or is that just the people that were participating in here?
that's a good question. I do believe it is public record and will be made available on the website. Is that correct? Does anyone know? So, yeah, so, and I do believe we'll be able to email these to you as well on Thursday, so not only the website, but email. Any highlights that we can capture, any highlights from yesterday or today that you'd like to share?
I guess my question is, when we have finished this, and I understand what we're going to end up with, what happens to it then? Will the State Board of Education get it and take action on it? Will the commissioner and her staff take action? What's going to happen to our work, and how will it be incorporated in the plan or in legislation or whatever?
Thank you, and I will defer to Commissioner Stewart to answer that question when she comes back after she's finished synthesizing, the synthesize booth. So, what other highlights might you have regarding yesterday or today's work, or what we've been able to accomplish together?
I think it's just amazing that with this diverse group of people, and some are in very senior leadership of our state, that everyone's opinions are respected. And so I really appreciate that. I think that's been amazing to see, whether you're the superintendent or you're the head of the Senate, everyone is respected for whatever contribution they have to make. And I think that's been great, and that you're helping us lead that, process.
Any other highlights or observations about yesterday or today as we've been together collaborating?
I think it's been amazing as we move from group to group, and then you come back and you see the whole work of every group, how similar we are as we talk through the process. You know, there's enough diversity that we're looking at different ideas, but there's also a lot of commonality, and I think sometimes we forget to focus on the commonality of the issues.
Great, thank you. And Commissioner Stewart, I was sharing with the group the real-time record, and they're interested in knowing what's next after tomorrow.
It is important that we think about that. So I was synthesizing, as you heard. I feel so synthesized now. I'm done with that. And it also is testing my ability to multitask. But as I understand the question, what will happen when we are done? I think you got to see a little bit of the work product that will come out of this. So we will receive that. That will, in fact, drive discussions. Quite obviously, we aren't walking out of here with a new school grading formula. But we are going to walk out of here knowing how we're going to move forward. And that's going to be very helpful. There are other folks that even if we came out with a formula, we couldn't implement that formula because there are other steps in the process. And I think everyone in the room recognizes that there is legislative involvement, and that work has to be done, and there is state board work. And so while this will inform that conversation, we aren't empowered to come up with anything we want to do as a result of this. We are informing that discussion as we are moving forward. And then we will use that information to help drive the conversation on where do we want to land. For me, I can tell you that these vision statements are so very important because that's what guides what we're going to do as we move forward. Thinking through what those challenges would be and what possible solutions to those challenges also can help us, but we will always come back to the vision statements in each of those categories because that is what should drive what we are doing. Those statements have been very well thought out, and we've synthesized what's really important from each of the groups as you have worked through this, as you said, in very spirited conversation. So I hope that as best I can answers that question. It isn't like we magically walk out with standards and assessments and a new grading formula.
Thank you.
Does anyone have a follow-up question to that?
Commissioner, I want to say one thing. I think a lot of the things that we have put forth here have to be done rapidly in order to accomplish some of the things that school systems need over the next 12 months. You know, you have to get some opinions, you have to get some other things done that I think is going to have to be done really, really quickly so that this group and others will be at ease with what we've been talking about, because there's a lot of timelines out there on us right now, on school districts, on superintendents, school boards, and teachers and all, that we need some clarification on as absolutely quickly as possible. I know you're going to do that, but I just want to make that point.
Right. And you know, the timely has come up in everything, and I think this process is also one that needs to be timely. Anything else? Great, I'll finish synthesizing.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. So Milo, can you please unveil the synthesized school grade vision statement?
Okay, thank you. And so a great place to end our work today and pivot us toward our work tomorrow is this accelerated progress we've made on the school grades topic. And I'm just going to run by, read aloud our synthesis of all the team's great work. School grades must be fair, simple, clear, understandable, and transparent. based upon student learning outcomes and objective measures. There should be a relationship between principal and teacher evaluation and school grades while respecting an individual educator's contribution to student learning. The school grading system should be statistically valid, trustworthy, and sustainable. It should accurately reflect school performance and motivate achievement. There's a lot in that paragraph. However, there was also a lot of material in the vision statements that the teams put forward.
I've got it.
Okay.
The statement there should be a relationship between principal and teacher evaluation and school grades. Can someone help me understand
Joe.
that? I'm assuming that that does not mean that if you are a D or an F school, that your principal and your teachers couldn't be anything other than a less than satisfactory performance, or is that what that means?
Yeah. Did you pull that one out? Was that you or was that Joe? Was that John or Joe?
Joe, you want to take a shot at it?
I think the discussion in the group had more to do with the labeling.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was highly effective.
Changing the label
Yeah.
from, so that there.
It wasn't
there would
about
be-
whatever the school gets, the principal gets.
All right,
There was nothing in that.
Let me
It had
tell
to
you.
do with using the words.
Okay, I want to make sure that I understand it, because when I was superintendent, some of the very best teachers I had was in some of the lowest performing schools.
Right.
And I wouldn't want their evaluation based on this to be, there's a ceiling there.
Right. What I remember in the conversation is that the change, the ABCDF, this is what was said in the group, to highly effective, needs improvement, and unsatisfactory.
Our group talked about the same.
Yeah, I mean, just change it.
So it wasn't.
Changing the
And
grading
when
category.
I read that, I got confused myself, and I'm in the group listening to it. So I think that's a little confusing, the way that's written, because you might get the impression that it does label the teachers, whatever the school grade is, it labels the teachers or the principals, and that's not the discussion at all that I heard.
Let me just say, and then yes, Pam is sensitized, and it's okay. But I think it underscores how critical it is that whatever product comes from this group is clearly understood, because if it gets in the wrong hands of the wrong people, I can tell you right now that there will be some that will say, yeah, we knew it all the time. You had your sorry teachers and sorry schools. And that's not true. And so we just got to be real careful that we don't mislead anybody.
Just to clarify a little further, we were just talking about the categories instead of schools being A through F. We said let's use the same categorical references that we do for teachers: effective, highly effective, satisfactory, etc. School grades versus A through F is what we were talking about. So maybe we need to tweak that.
I say just take it out. Okay, but let me make sure that everyone heard and is clear on this. What I'm hearing is that the discussion was really around using the same categories, not
Linking it.
not linking it, but using categories that were the same.
Terminology. So instead of A, B, C, D, ABC, F, you would do the same exact thing that teachers have for evaluations, innovative, effective, and satisfactory, needs improvement is the same thing for the school grade. That's what it meant. It didn't mean that just because the teacher gets, the school grade gets needs improvement, the teacher gets it. So it's the same, right? Is that how you were
You're saying the same language.
The same language.
Okay, the same language for the categories. That's something that we would
start grading. If it was the way it is today, you'd start grading the teachers A, B, C, D, and F.
I think
If
that
you were going to
the
use
statement will be just as powerful if you take it out.
Yeah, so
I would,
take
just
that
to
out.
avoid
Just take
confusion,
that.
just take that
Okay,
word.
so to just take it, you have to take it out to avoid confusion, because we did hear that it's really vital that we have clarity on what's coming out of this one, because it's going to inform us. So do we want to take out that entire sentence about the relationship?
Yes.
Well,
Well,
No, my only concern with taking it out is that there was a lot of conversation around the grading, the A through F system. I mean, if we totally take it out, then we sort of ignore the fact that it was a part of a lot of the conversations in several groups.
Okay, although to that point, all of the foundational conversation and material in think tank has all been captured, so that's not being taken out of the real-time record. It's only since we're hearing that there may be some confusion or misinterpretation if that bubbles up to the vision statement.
The third point on here.
Yes.
And so, or third from the bottom. So maybe we need to have it clarified on here if you're going to take it out, so that it does accurately reflect what you're talking about. Because we had the exact same conversation. We talked about highly effective, and may I say something again, please? Here's the issue. We have many schools where when the band kicks in, the teacher's rating bumps up to here, but then it's a D or an F school. That's where the imbalance is, and that's where the frustration is, because we have the talented teachers that Senator Munford's talking about that are busting their butt and doing well, but then the grading system kicks in and they're rated a D or an F school, and that's the conversation we've all been having and the frustration. So.
Mine is just a little more general. This, to me, is an example of how there can be confusion and misunderstanding of the instrument, whatever the product that we leave here with. If we're having this kind of discussion, and we've been here 2 days, can you imagine when people outside here read that? I promise you, as an example, they're going to read it the way I read it. I've read it that way. And my point is, and I think it would be to Pam and others, that we got to be very, very careful, because all our names are on the list who attended this meeting, and we're going to own this. And so I just, in general, I said we got to be very, very careful with the product that comes from here.
Before was your discussion over A through F, or effective and highly effective schools being, you know, the criteria being one and the same?
You go ahead. I think the way I heard the talk, it was changing A through F to highly effective. An A would be highly effective. Did I capture what was being discussed?
Because what our conversation was about, just like many of the other, I think Anthony mentioned it and others, was about the stigma of being an F.
Right.
You know, and what has been captured here. I'm a highly effective teacher at an F school, and what does that say about me to the community? Because they don't understand that. Yeah.
But I think just a comment going back to what Chairman Chartrand said. I think the anxiety and the mistrust and the concern is that whether we call it an F or bluebirds, that when we call a school failing, we better be darn sure that it's failed. And that's my concern, is that we get that right. And 12 years of tinkering with the formula has created a lot of mistrust, and it needs to be fixed. And so the message I would like to give forward, whatever you call it, is that it needs to be fair, simple, clear, understandable, transparent, all those things above. No matter what you call the categories, it's a name. But we've got to absolutely get it right. That when we call a school a failure, it is indeed a failure. And that's difficult work.
I just wanted to add that, you know, no one grieves over a failing grade or a grade that drops from an A to a B or a B to a C more than the teachers and the principal of that school. Nobody does. That's an empty feeling that no one wants to experience. While I think that the intent is fantastic, but if there's one doubt, one smidgen of doubt in our minds, if it's going to be presented in a way that may be misconstrued, I would rather we go back and try to articulate it better so that the spirit of what you're trying to accomplish and say can then, of course, be conveyed properly. That's all. And, indeed, all the comments that we've just heard in the last 5 minutes kind of underscore that
we're already moving forward into the potential challenges and solutions around school grades, and the fact that that it's been observed that part of this vision statement, as it is currently synthesized, might be misconstrued, suggests that we do want to perhaps revisit this in the morning, right, and then also use that as the springboard, because clearly there's already a lot of energy toward pursuing those challenges and solutions. So let's consider this as not being ratified for purposes of today, and it becomes our springboard for tomorrow. Does that work for everybody?
Yes, just make a comment, not really specific to this vision statement, but some folks ventured into teacher evaluation and the issue of VAM. I would just like to enter into the record that right now there's a dichotomous treatment of what we consider student improvement, school improvement, as reflecting teacher evaluation. It can be easily resolved. So teacher evaluations are driven by VAM, but school improvement is driven by learning gains. And the way to eliminate that issue is to simply replace learning gains for the current VAM designation applicable to teachers. Why am I saying this? Because we have compelling evidence that we have lots of teachers across the state, certainly in Miami-Dade, with negative VAMs, however, demonstrating 100% learning gains. Any system that allows for that to occur is not a reliable, valid, accountable system. So a simple solution to this, and again I'm just touching on it because it was addressed, is to replace VAM with learning gains, and then you do not have this dichotomous approach to teacher evaluation that hardly has any validity or reliability associated with it.
So yeah, we are already venturing into problem-solving mode, and we're going to get to that. Let me ask you this. Would you like to proceed, since we're a little ahead of schedule, proceed?
No.
Some say yes, some say no.
Proceed on what?
Well, to go to the next step and really identify challenges and potential solutions.
No, I think we need to fix this.
Yeah.
Let's stay on this and finish this.
Okay. What generally works better is to do this in like a small group. And let me put something out to you. Could we, from the previous 5 teams, have you to appoint a person who would represent your team, and then you could take another pass at synthesizing this statement so that each team would be well represented? No? Yes? That generally works well. John?
What about the individuals who actually crafted the language?
Why don't we just take that sentence?
Yeah, make them fix it.
Why don't we just...
We could also revisit just taking that one sentence out that seems to do the same.
Take it out.
Take it out. How about we take it out and then clarify it a little bit more in the bullet points?
Yeah, because it's, like I said, it's the third one from the bottom.
That one there?
Yeah.
No?
You take it out.
Take it out.
That's it.
Delete.
Oh, yeah.
You can do it.
And now you have to go to the third one from the bottom.
You gotta go down, to the point.
This is where we need to fix it. Right there.
Okay, this was the bullet point, or one of the bullet points from which this was synthesized. There's a bullet point here that says there should be a correlation between principal and teacher evaluation and school grades. So does the team that put that through, would like to amplify or tweak that?
Take it out.
Take that out
maybe
too,
just
okay.
plug in terminology.
Or let those guys stay here and correct it.
Take it out.
We can take it out of this handout, but it's still in the real-time record.
So we need to, so it's going to stay there, so we have to make sure that it's clear.
Yeah,
tomorrow
it needs additional clarity.
Let me ask a question. Tomorrow we're going to come back and add to this, correct? So in solutions or whatever we're looking at tomorrow, if our team wanted to, or any team wanted to add that we change A to F to be excellent or outstanding to unsatisfactory, change the terminology, we can do that in our solutions tomorrow. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is a statement among some others that may be more of an aspect of the solution than it really is part of the overarching vision.
So there's no way to get it out of
the conversation, is what you're saying, because it's here.
It was advanced by one of the
By
teams.
us, yes, I mean, our team. So we need,
It's just a record.
We just need a clarification.
we need to clarify.
Yeah, just to clarify, yes.
And do we need to do that now, or can we do it tomorrow?
We're going to take it out for now, we can clarify it
No, we
tomorrow.
can't take it out. We can't take it out.
Let's
We've got to
clarify
fix
for
it.
now, and we'll, capture that in the real-time record while it's on our
Can't be
minds
taken
right
out.
now, so.
It can't be taken out. It's real-time record. It can't be taken
about
out.
there should
So
be
we've got
correlation between the
we've got to
terminology?
explain it. We've got to explain it.
Maybe something like that.
You can't take it out when.
Yeah, although we can make notes here. We can make
Yeah,
notes on this
right.
document and then become part of the.
So that they understand what we meant.
Yeah, well, maybe just say there should be a correlation between the terminology used when evaluating teachers, principals, and school grades.
Does that work?
Can I say something? Well, I asked my good friend.
It's a friendly amendment.
I want to just ask my good friend, Representative Fullwood, if the intent of that is to do away with the grading system for the A through F.
Well, I don't know if it's do away with it. We just think that it needs to, all of it needs to make sense.
Oh, and I understand that. I am not in favor. I'm going to just tell everybody right here. I'm going to be very, very personally, I'm just one guy, opposed to moving away from the A through F grading system. We adopted this in 1998. We were the first state to do it. Parents, teachers, administrators have relied on it for that time. Clearly, we need to clarify some of the things that are problems in it. And I think some of the solutions up there are getting to that. But before we had the A and B system, we had a highly effective or ineffective system. That's what people, and nobody understood it. Nobody understood it. Every state that now has gone to reform has actually, more than either other part of reform, gone to a grading system. To move away from that at this point in time in the state of Florida would be a very bad mistake, in my opinion. Very bad mistake. I think we can fix it. I think we can clarify it. But I, for one, will not be in favor of moving away from the A through F system.
Second. If I could.
So we're already on to.
This is a two-edged sword right here, folks. You better be careful. Correlation between the terminology used in principal and teacher evaluations. So we will now grade our teachers A, B, C, D, and F. Is that okay? Because it says correlation between the terminology. So if somebody determines, we're going to score our teachers A through F.
All right.
That is different than somebody determining that it's going to be highly effective and effective.
Why can't we?
This is a two-edged sword right here that we have to be very, very careful of the language that we end up putting in this particular statement.
Thank you for that. Let me ask this. Which team advanced this bullet point?
What were we?
Raise your hands high. Okay. Can we strike this from the record?
Leave the island.
We can leave the
Can I say that there's kind of a difference here between striking from the record, but we have a real-time record. I think it is important that what be captured as part of what Group 3 came up with. I think that what the discussion is or should be whether or not that language should be in the synthesizing that I learned to do back there. So I think that's really the discussion.
Yeah.
Because I think it should be part of real-time record. It was brought up by the group.
Well, I was impressing that, and I kept hearing, take it out, take it out, take it out. So I was just trying to honor your request.
Oh, that's what we had.
Can we just take it out of the summation and then just maybe on the record?
Okay. So we've just noted that this will not be in the synthesized vision statement for school grades. But it will be just noted in the real-time record because it actually happened. It was advanced. So with that, are you good with that?
There's nothing wrong with having a conversation.
This is a great conversation.
It was.
Very spiritual. That's good. So, do we want to move back up to the synthesized vision statement and do anything else with it? Or since we have taken that one sentence out, are we good with this as it currently reads? We can also, I mean, there's the night to marinate tonight. You can sleep on it and come back fresh. We can revisit it together. But this is important that we get this right so that we then tomorrow can pick up with identifying challenges and possible solutions and next steps. So, everybody good? Before we leave, please, we have cookies in the back, so I just want you to know that. And I'd like to ask...
I don't want to do that. Give me just 1 second. Now, you know, everything that we do is based on the validity and the accuracy of what we're talking about here. And as simple as it is, in the last sentence, it should, you know, should means, you know, you should be a good boy, but you may not be. Can we say it will be, or it has to be?
It must.
It must be, or something. But we have so much riding on this. I don't think we need any wiggle room there.
I would do it.
Must.
Good
point. Should.
That's what you're doing.
Thank you.
Wordsmith.
That was
And
good.
then we'll see how we do.
I know what you're doing.
Glad we could help you, sir. Anything else, Bill?
I got it.
So we will reprint this and have this available to you tomorrow when you come in to pick up where we left off with the spirited discussion. And Commissioner Stewart, did you want to send us off on a good note?
Nope, we're trying to find that right pitch. Again, thank you for hanging in today. I think that today we've shown some tremendous work. I think that we're going to walk out of here at the end of the day tomorrow with some good information for our being able to have a discussion with the governor so that he knows where this group landed with regard to these 4 very important priorities. That was his goal, that's our goal, I think it's the goal of everyone in here. So I think, again, thank you for hanging in. A very long day today. It's hard to sit and listen and provide input. We're used to doing and moving and working, but I think I'm so appreciative of everything that you did. These were wonderful discussions, and I appreciate the work that you have done today again. So 9 o'clock again in the morning, back here. Box lunch, same deal.
Box lunch, same deal. And there's been a recommendation made that we leave these on the table since they have been revised, your vision statements for school grades. So if you feel so inclined, please leave them on the table. And we should have a new one coming in the morning. Have a great evening. Get lots of rest. Come back.
Hi, my name is Janet Adkins. I serve in the Florida House of Representatives, House District 11, which represents parts of Duval and all of Nassau County. So I'm delighted to have been invited to participate in the Governor's Summit on Education Accountability. We had done 2 similar summits in my district earlier this month, and I think it's important that we talk to all the stakeholders and include all the stakeholders when we look at the issues surrounding education. Education is the one gift that we can give our children that no one can ever take away, and I am passionate about education. I'm excited about what we did these last 3 days. I think we got a lot of good input that we can take back to Tallahassee and begin to look at how we can improve education for all of the students here in Florida.
Okay, so I'm actually with Florida Parents Against Common Core. My name's Laura Zork. I'm a co-founder. I founded Florida Parents Against Common Core back in May with 3 other mothers. We started off obviously with the 4 of us, and we're up to over 15,000 parents that are a part of our group that are also verbally speaking out against the Common Core standards and the mandates that are tied with the Race to the Top grant through the federal government. We've been going around the state trying to meet with legislators to try to get a bill to actually stop Common Core, because there's not enough information out there that we should allow that to come into our state. I know that I feel that I came here this week, I was hoping to be able to dive into some of the problems that parents see with Common Core, and that really wasn't the setting of the venue. So I would really like to see Governor Scott to allow us to bring in 5 of our experts, and then we would bring in 5, the Florida Department of Education would bring in 5 of their lead people, and actually have an open debate with our education committee legislators and just bring it to public. So if the Department of Education is saying that we're wrong, then show us where we're wrong, and then we need to really have an open dialogue with this. So I'm hoping from this summit that we might be able to walk away with that as an option.